What up, everybody? Welcome to a Friday edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Lazzi riding solo here on the desk, but we do have a smorgasbord of guests joining me this morning, including a couple of my glizzy guzzling friends, Nick and Mickey, ahead of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Former NFL quarterback Sean King breaking down some of the biggest offseason storylines. These two are here, Steve and Nick. Also, gentlemen, I hope you stick around towards the end of the show because there is a historic and never before seen NASCAR street race going down in Chicago this weekend, and beer is ridiculously expensive. I'm glad you're here because we have the highest rated segment in this show's long and confusing history. Starting off the program this morning, put up your bukes. So Steve Buchanan will dish out his favorite DFS plays. We have Nick playing the role of villain here who is going to push back against said plays. Bukes, I believe we have a dozen games on the main slate tonight. So your pitcher du jour is who and why?
Yeah, look, I don't want to be, a biased guy. So I'm going to go with Shane McClanahan against the awful Seattle Mariners at this point. The team was supposed to be a lot of fun. Team was supposed to ride into the playoffs again this year. No. They've been everything but that so far this season. He's the most expensive guy on this slate, but truly he's in one of the best spots here against this Mariners team who cannot hit lefties at all. 306 WOBA, 27.4% K rate on the year against lefties. That is the second highest in the league. Now, McClanahan hasn't been as efficient with his strikeout numbers as we've seen in the past. Currently, since he joined the leagues in 2021. Wow, he's not Justin Verlander. He has the lowest K9 of his career. But what's most impressive, he is stranding 90% of the runners that he's put on base this season. With men on base against him, has just a 208 WOBA. So when guys are on base, he's actually at his best. Give me McClanahan at 11,000 here tonight.
Nick Fryer, tough to push back against this one because if he's healthy, he's as good as any pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, McClanahan's an absolute beast, and I totally get why anybody would want to roster him tonight. This is kind of a weird pitching slate, especially when you look and you see James Paxton right up there behind him at 10.3K. That's not where I'm going to go. We also got some potential rainouts to factor in all this. I'm actually going to go with Dean Kramer going up against the Twins at 8.1K, kind of in that weird price range. Look, it's been a weird month, though, for Minnesota batters against right-handed pitching. They've got a so-so ISO of 159. Their BABIP's been pretty decent, probably due for a little regression at 305. But the big number for me, and the reason why I like Dean Kramer in this one, the Twins have the highest strikeout rate of any lineup against right-handed pitching this month at 28.7K, just edging out the Milwaukee Brewers. Kramer isn't the biggest strikeout pitcher, we know this, but over his last 5 outings, he's averaged a strikeout per inning, and he's going up against lineups, of course, that aren't striking out as much against right-handed pitching as the Twins because no one else is this month. So I like Kramer here as a potential ceiling performance against the Twins.
Steve, who stands out to you in the infielder department?
Yeah, I really like Spencer Torkelson tonight at 4,000. Usually not a name that you think of when you want to roster just one person in the infield, but he's playing at Coors Field tonight, only 4,000, and we expect to be hitting second in that lineup tonight. He's not hitting for average by any stretch of the means during the month of June, but he's hitting for a ton of power. Of the 19 hits in June, 11 have gone for extra bases, and then now you drop him in Coors Field going up against Austin Gomber, the lefty there, torque 362 WOBA and a 134 WRC plus against lefties this season. Both numbers are much higher than what he does against righties. So I think Torkelson in Coors Field with the amount of power that he's been hitting for, barring that we get some massive hailstorm again in Coors Field, I think this is a great spot for him tonight. Only 4K. That is ridiculously cheap for somebody hitting in a prime spot in that lineup at Coors Field tonight against the lefty.
2 taters, 4 ribbies in yesterday's win against the Rangers. Nick, who you got?
Yeah, I think that's a great play, but I'm going to go a little bit more expensive with my top infielder spot, 2.4K more expensive to be precise. Matt Olson going up against Miami. Obviously, he's been cooking. I mean, 20-plus DK fantasy points in 4 of his last 6. He's going up against a righty. That is his preferred spot. These two numbers are what kind of blew my mind as I was looking through his performance against righties this month. He's got a 359 ISO against right-handed pitching in the month of June. Obviously, an impressive number. But then he's got a 250 BABIP So he's been crushing it. He's been putting up numbers, but he's also still getting a little bit unlucky in the course of things. So kind of wild there, but it also does make sense a little bit when you consider over 50% of his fly balls, 50% of his balls in play have been fly balls. So some of those are home runs. So he's getting, it's a little help there. 39% hard contact rate. So I love him going up against Brian Honing, who I know he's done well this month as he's kind of getting stretched out more and more. But you look at some of the lineups he's facing, not the toughest lineups for right-handed pitching. You go and put him up against a guy like Olsen, and I have a lot more confidence in Olsen having another 20-point DK fantasy performance tonight.
Yeah, and Olsen's been staging that epic battle for the MLB lead in home runs with Shohei Ohtani, who has 3-homer lead after hitting 4 taters in 4 games against the White Sox. Let's go to the outfield, Steve. Put up your bukes here, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I like Masataka Yoshida tonight going up against the Blue Jays and Jose Barrios. Lefties continue to be a massive nuisance for Jose Barrios. He's been excellent against righties, but when he goes and faces a left-handed bat, has a 343 WOBA against him. Yoshida's been struggling a bit at the plate. He's been over for the last 4 games or so. That's also dropped his salary down beneath $5K. We really haven't seen him under $5K since the beginning of May. That's a salary that he's consistently been at all throughout the season. So now he's dropped under that $5K range. He's still got some good pop against righties. He's a little bit better against righties on the road than he is at home. So I think this is a really solid spot for Yoshida to maybe start to get back on track here at the plate. Barrios also really struggles with men on base. That's been something that's really been a problem for him throughout the season. So the Red Sox get a couple guys on base. Yoshida comes to the plate. He's the lefty, gets them against Barrios. You get what's going on here. Give me Yoshida tonight in the outfield.
Punch away, Nick Fryer.
As I was looking at the list of players that I was liking, I was thinking that this would be a guy that Steve would go with tonight at 4.7K. But I'm not as surprised by that as I am by Luis Robert's pricing at 4.7K, given what he's doing over his last few games. 17 plus DK fantasy points in 4 of the last 5, 20 plus in 3 of those games, and he's going up against Luis Medina, who A, isn't good, and B, is the preferred handedness for Robert. 333 ISO against right-handed pitching this month, and I know he's striking out a lot in those matchups, strikeout rate north of 30%, but Medina has a K rate below 20% against right-handed hitters this season, and you also look at their hard contact rate too, 37% against Medina, but what's most mind-blowing about him is that number 37 is also the same as his ground ball rate for right-handed hitters, so that's huge for Robert. Should be able to get the ball airborne and maybe go deep again tonight.
Yeah, Stephen, Robert was a big topic of conversation between you and Jared on our Tuesday takeover of the Sweat with Jared Carabas this past week. Value plays, Steve. Who sits atop your value plays DFS on DraftKings tonight?
Yeah, only $3,300 for Leody Taveras tonight. I am shocked that he still remains as cheap as he is. He's in the midst of a career year. He's been in the major leagues now for about 4 years, but putting up career numbers in almost every category at this point. He can do a little bit of everything. He's got some pop. He can swipe a base. He gets on base at a healthy clip, 346 on base percentage for the year. Tonight, he's going up against Ronel Blanco, who has recently been stretched out as a starter for the Astros, but he's been giving up a ton of home runs. It's becoming a starter. 4 home runs now through 7 starts in 23 innings. It's been really, I'm sorry, I mixed that up. 7 home runs through 4 starts. Let's not say he's been better than he has. He's been giving up a ton of home runs since becoming a starter here. So with Taveras hitting a lot of pop as of late, and obviously going up in this lineup here for the Rangers, a lot of stuff can happen there. A ton of guys on base with him. So give me Taveras hitting lower in that Texas Rangers lineup, but still getting a plenty of love down there for the RBI opportunities.
Nick Fryer, the floor is yours.
I like the Taveras call a lot, but I am going to go with a different guy here. Evan Longoria, 3K, going up against Griff Canning tonight. And look, I know that Canning's been generating a lot of ground balls against right-handed hitters of late. It's kind of surprising. Usually he's more of a fly ball pitcher against right-handed hitters. So I'm actually backing that to go and have him have a little bit of regression in this game tonight, at least going up against Evan Longoria, who is crushing right-handed pitching. 385 ISO against right-handed pitchers this month. And then you look at his hard contact rate too. It's no surprise that ISO is amazing. He's got a 474 hard contact rate, and then his ground ball rate is just 36.8. So this is definitely the kind of guy who should give Canning a little bit of regression.
Not a very heated edition of Put Up Your Bukes. Look at you two kind of getting along. This is history.
It's a holiday weekend's coming up. I don't give a crap about fighting right now. I'm just going to take some days off. Once we come back after the holiday week, We'll see what happens.
Well, I was informed I can't slack him anymore. So there you go. The tension was broken before the start of the segment.
That's correct.
All right, you two, that's it. Your job here is done. Go enjoy your 4th of July weekend. I love both of you. We will look at tonight's baseball slate through our DK Sportsbook goggles with Eric and Paul coming up right after we rip through some NFL storylines, offseason storylines leading up to training camp with Sean King, former NFL quarterback. All right, open your eyes, lend us an ear here, people, because the 2023 VSiN NFL betting guide is out. We got odds, we got predictions, best bets, all the VSiN experts, like my guy Sean King, offering up their opinions on player props, season win totals, 78-page PDF that is available only to VSiN Pro subscribers. You got to get after it, make that money. Thank us later. Thank guys like Sean King, who joins us here live on The Sweat. What is cooking, my dude?
Man, football is what's cooking. It's around the corner. I know we got a little Wimbledon coming up, but, that's just a little appetizer to the main course meal. I cannot wait. As you mentioned, check out that NFL betting guide. We did all the work for you. Go and download it, subscribe. Promise you're going to love the information.
Yeah, and one of the things that people will find in the VSiN betting guide here, Sean, is your outlook on the Bills. So it's been a noisy start to the offseason for them, and now Buffalo is a common regression choice, really, of the media. The favorites to win the AFC East here. What are your expectations for them?
I actually think they're going to regress. I agree. I also think the market agrees with me. We're talking about an organization that's won 4 straight AFC East titles. They've been to 5 straight playoffs. Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, head coach, GM, just got extensions. They've done an outstanding job. Last year they were 13-3, 11-6 the year before. Emerson 13-3 the year before that, and their win total is only 10.5. So the market is telling you that they think the Buffalo Bills regress. I always get concerned when guys, elite players who've already gotten paid, who've had success, seem disgruntled. That's been the situation with Stephon Diggs. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I do think there is something that transpired last year that not a lot of people have given a lot of credence, and that's the departure of Brian Daboll. Sean McDermott is a defensive-minded guy. Daboll left to be the head coach of the Giants. That offense ran by Josh Allen did not seem as explosive, as confident as it had been before. Ken Dorsey in year 2, can he get it fixed? We're going to find out. I'm saying Buffalo will be good, but they won't be as good. I would take under the 10.5 win total as it sits.
When you were quarterbacking the Bucs, did you run into any situations similar to this where maybe some of your top targets or wide receivers here on the team were a little disgruntled? You had to take them from unhappy to happy?
Well, I played with Keyshawn Johnson, so
Oh.
he was always in his feelings about something. We call him emotionally hijacked. So, I mean, as a quarterback, you have to learn how to deal with it. I mean, you deal with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different egos. It's just part of becoming a professional QB, and Josh Allen is learning. I really think Brian Daboll had been the buffer for Allen and had kind of maybe sheltered him a little bit from some of
Okay.
that. So, I mean, we'll see if he's ready to really step up and be the leader they need him to be this year.
All right, no quarterback questions there in Buffalo. We can't say the same for your hometown team and the franchise you led to an NFC title game here. We're talking the Bucs, obviously. No more Tom Brady. How competitive can they be with Baker Mayfield under center? What do you think, Sean? Go ahead, quench that thirst.
Well, I have a cup here that has the Bucs logo, so I was kind of like putting.
Yeah, no, I know what you were doing. I know exactly what you're doing.
I don't really have anything good to say regarding my Bucs, and if you look at the market, doesn't either. Plus 755 to win the NFC South. That's the longest odds. The market is saying we're worse than the Falcons and the Panthers. Jim Money Christmas, but I will say this: I don't really disagree. Not a lot of people are super high on Todd Bowles for whatever reason. Dave Canales is coming in to try and fix an offense minus Tom Brady, one that was kind of leaking on the offensive line last year, did not do a lot to improve those situations. A group of skill players that, although have name recognition, they are getting older. So if you look at that win total, it's 6.5 and it's juiced to the under. You got to lay a minus 140 to go under 6.5. So the only light at the end of the tunnel is I'm not sure that the division is that difficult.
Yes.
I mean, granted, Derek Carr is an upgrade over Andy Dalton in New Orleans, yet still, are they the same team without Sean Payton that they were with him? I'm not a big Desmond Ritter fan. The Falcons are young in a lot of places. I'm not sure that there's some kind of juggernaut. And, of course, Carolina's in the first year of a rebuild. So if you think that Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and crew can get it done, plus 755 is a heck of a number. And just keep this in the back of your mind. The Bucs won the NFC South last year with an 8-9 record. I would not be surprised if that mediocre division is right around that same threshold this upcoming season.
I was just going to say, because you also have proven offensive coaches for Baker Mayfield, who no one expects to be Tom Brady. Pro Bowl pass catchers, couple young running backs back there. I mean, maybe he does have them vying for an NFC South title. In the AFC, go ahead.
And before we leave, never forget Baker Mayfield was the number one pick in the 2018 draft, and it wasn't one that was really debated. It was pretty much a consensus. He was coming off of a Heisman campaign at Oklahoma. People really thought that he had an opportunity to be this special player. In his defense, he played pretty good in his 5-game stretch last year to at the end of the season with the Rams. Is he enough to kind of grab an organization that seems to be kind of treading water and lift it up to a division title? I'm not sure, but it would not surprise me.
Yeah, I think he's becoming more known for his commercials on television than what he's actually doing on the football field. But hey, maybe that changes again for your hometown team. Like on the AFC South side, we're talking the division of the working man. We're not talking about my Jags, next year's Super Bowl champions, but their biggest rival here. We're talking about the Titans, who can't stop drafting quarterbacks, Sean. Tannehill, his days are numbered in Tennessee. Looks like he's got the starting job, but there's Malik Willis behind him. There's Will Levis as well. Willis, by the way, tweeting out things like, it'll get crazy when that script flips. What are the chances one of these guys slides into the QB1 spot here this season?
Barring injury, I'd say 0. And here's why. It was a reason Will Levis fell in this past draft. It was a reason that a year after drafting Malik Willis in the 3rd round, the Titans went and drafted another quarterback. So I don't think either rookie or the second-year player is ready to play. Plus, I mean, let's be honest. You know, Ryan Tannehill's failures have been in the playoffs, not during the regular season. I mean, he's going into year 11. He's a 3,200-yard, 22-touchdown, 8-interception guy in the regular season. So, I mean, he has not been spectacular, but everybody's not going to be Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. He's been rock solid in the regular season. I fully anticipate this to be his most focused year in Tennessee in a while. And people forget this. And I don't want to, pour any salt on your Jaguars
Oh,
enthusiasm and exuberance over there, but last year Tennessee was 7-3. It took them losing their last 7 games for Jacksonville to win the division. So, like, put context on that. The year before they were 12-5. The year before that they were 11-5. I fully think Mike Vrabel gets that group back to what they were. And for whatever reason, they had some injuries. I think a lot of people were still kind of feeling a certain way about, moving A.J. Brown. Ultimately, the GM got fired. So there was a lot of things going on last year on the Titans side. So I think they bounced back. I actually love them to actually win this division. They sit at plus 450
what?
right now. Absolutely. And I like the
What?
Jags, Steve, but I
No,
like
dude.
Tennessee more. I like Tennessee
You're
more.
you're insane. We're talking about how like their biggest question mark is at the most important position in all of sports. They have the weakest wide receiver room, which I want to ask you, you think Vrabel can convince Hopkins to actually join them in Tennessee? Or does Hopkins look at their quarterbacks and go, Tannehill, Malik Willis, Will Levis? What the hell?
Well, I actually think Tannehill's a middle of the pack quarterback. I don't love their receiver room, but I do think Treylon Burks will be a lot better in year 2 than he was in year 1. That was last year's first round pick. But this is more a play on Vrabel.
Okay.
And it's also me looking at the Jaguars, who I think are getting a little too much credit for winning some close games. And don't forget, they had some tragic news come out of the organization this week. Cam Robinson, their starting tackle, they finally extended and gave some money, now suspended because of ped use. I know they get Calvin Ridley back, but I think the Jags have some question marks on a talented defense, but a young one. And they're going to be fine eventually. But I like Tennessee and the culture that Vrabel has built at plus 450 odds to win the AFC South.
Well, listen, best quarterback in the league is not in Tennessee. And in fact, if you ask Jamar Chase, it's his quarterback. It's smoking Joe Burrow. But then Travis Kelce, after those comments, fires back and says, hey, don't disrespect my guy, Patrick Mahomes. We saw them winning the match last night. Spoiler alert, though, over in the VSiN betting guide, everybody, this man, Sean King, liking the Bengals this year for a Super Bowl appearance. Sean, I think it's going to take Cincinnati winning it all for us to have this debate, Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes. Why do you believe this year could be Cincinnati's year?
Well, I think they've been right there. 2 years ago, they went to Kansas City and beat Mahomes and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. It took a late hit out of bounds late in last year's AFC Championship game for the Chiefs to get the field position needed to kick the field goal and win. So it's not like Cincinnati has to come from the rafters. They have been right there, and I think it's kind of the perfect storm. You get Burrow and Jamar Chase in basically what, constitutes a contract year. So not only are they going to be good, but they also want to be extremely productive, to make sure that they get the biggest of the bag. So, listen, never an easy mountain to climb is going to be Mahomes, Kelce, and Andy Reid. But I do think the Bengals ultimately get it done. Having said that, it still won't elevate Joe Burrow ahead of Patrick Mahomes, who already has 2 NFL MVPs and 2 Super Bowl wins and another Super Bowl appearance. So he's ahead of Burrow, but he's also been in the league longer than Burrow. This is going to be hopefully one of those rivalries, kind of like the Brady Manning situation that we get to enjoy for a long time.
I mean, how are these guys, how are NFL guys feeling? And you've been in their position, Sean, where June is ending, July's around the corner, OTA's just wrapped up, training camps are coming up, those dog days of summer. Like, are guys just trying to enjoy their last few days of vacation here before it's that rise and grind every stinking day and having the crap beat out of you?
Yeah, most of the offseason, you kind of keep in contact with a lot of your partners, and, you guys try and meet up here and, go enjoy NBA All-Star Weekend or, do some different things. But this last stretch before training camp, I mean, the phone's off. Hopefully you're somewhere that don't have phone service anyway. I mean, you're completely in relax mode. You're not looking at ESPN or DraftKings or VSiN or Fox or anything. I mean, you're completely toned out because, once you turn everything back on, I mean, the race has started, and the race is grueling, and it's a long long grind. So you got to refresh, and that's what most of those guys will be doing.
All right, speaking of being in relaxation mode, 4th of July weekend here, summertime. How many hot dogs are you crushing this weekend?
So I'm what you call a grill master, E. And when you
Ooh.
get to Vegas, I gotta, put you up on a little something,
I
something.
love it.
So, I'm more of a ribs, chicken, out there on the grill kind of guy. I might do a brisket this year.
Yes.
Maybe some pulled pork. Like we're gonna
Yes.
do it big. 4th of July is a big event.
Okay, so you skip like the fake tubed meat and you go to the real stuff.
Yeah, hot dogs is that's like a Tuesday, when I got home, late and the kids are really hungry. Like that's not like a holiday kind of a meal. Like if I go to your cookout on the 4th and you got hot dogs, I'm gonna politely tell you I'm going to the put some gas in the car and I probably won't return.
Well, I look forward to hanging out with you once they are finally brave enough to send me out to Vegas and put us two together. Thanks, Sean. Enjoy your 4th, man, and grilling out and doing all that fun stuff. It is a day of celebration, a day of just mashing hot dogs. And yesterday we had our annual sit down with the People's Champs, Nick Wehry, Mickey Sudo, ahead of the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest. So Mickey ready to defend her title, while Nick trying to dethrone Joey Chestnut and, of course, debate the worst superhero. Bring it in, people, for our annual 4th of July conversation with two of my glizzy-guzzling friends, the hungry couple, not one, but two of the top 4 competitive eaters in the world, by the way, Nick Wehry, Mickey Sudo. How are you guys?
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, super excited to be heading back.
Yeah, amped for the contest.
All right. Looks like y'all have been doing a ton of traveling, too, up to this point. I mean, it feels like there's a competition every weekend for you guys, Nick.
Yeah, it's been a lot of travel this year. I mean, contest started as early as January with bagels, and then we had wonderful pistachios in February, and a week later down in Miami. So it's been a busy beginning of the year, but it's going well.
Mickey, how many hot dogs have you consumed here? I guess let's say over the past month? Like what's the training routine here leading up to this event every year?
I thought you were going to ask me over the last decade. Like I don't even want to know. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I do more practices because Nick started earlier in the year, and I kind of just caught the bug early on. So I've done about 4 full practices, I think. Yeah, I mean, just a couple hundred.
Oh my God. Good Lord, that is a boatload of tubed meat there. Mickey, you're also the defending women's. Like you have 8 Nathan's wins like in your trophy case or hanging up behind you as we see. Does it ever get old?
Oh, never. Winning never gets old. I'm super excited. It's my 10th year here. As you guys know, when I was pregnant in 2021, I had the year off as a commentator. So it's my 9th belt, but that actually puts me in the lead for most consecutive belts this year. So that's kind of like another mini accomplishment, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it never gets old. I mean, I'm hell-bent on hitting that 50 mark, though. So that needs to happen, hopefully this year.
I was just going to ask you, what's the number you have set in your head so we have your answer. Nick, what's yours?
I would love to put a number on that. Like, obviously, last year was frustrating dealing with Chestnut having to go full blood sport on a guy storming the stage. My goal would be to annihilate that number from last year. And I don't go to a contest unless I think I have a shot to win. So with how my practice has been going and how the last basically 364 days have been dedicated to kind of this 10 minutes of a single day, if my body does what I think it's capable of on the 4th, I should be competitive regardless of what happens.
I mean, how does your body, Nick, look the way that it does with all of the eating that you guys do? We see you posting pics on Twitter, on Instagram. You're like the freaking Hulk, dude.
Hot dogs make you veiny, too.
Yes,
apparently.
hot dogs make – the secret is the shirt.
Yeah.
The secret is the shirt. But it's no – 9 out of 10 days, my diet's pretty regulated and boring. Boneless, skinless chicken breast, avocado, oatmeal, rice. Things that if you looked in our refrigerator, your average person would be incredibly bored. And then obviously the 5 to 6 days a week I'm in the gym, just for my therapy, moving heavy things around, copious amounts. But it helps. Being in good shape, I think, helps me feel better when I'm eating. And I kind of like being, different.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing, walking out there. I've loved it since I was 19 years old, and I saw my first little mini bicep vein, and then when the other 740 joined, it just gets more exciting every time.
So these competitions are like y'all's cheat meals in a way. Is that right, Mickey?
I guess you could say so. I mean, I think luckily my diet was like a lot of fresh produce and lean proteins before I got into competitive eating. So it doesn't feel like I'm sacrificing the good stuff when I balance out the rest of the week that way. But yeah, I guess, it's always fun to just gorge on hot dogs or Twinkies or ice cream or what have you. It's definitely not an everyday treat.
Nick, is this the year people should bet on somebody, possibly you, finally dethroning Joey Chestnut? We can't talk eating hot dogs competitively without mentioning him.
Yeah, I mean, all due respect to Joey, he's the best to ever do what we do.
Yeah.
And I'm not disillusioned to think that otherwise, but like I said, the past 364 days have gone into 6 days from now. The goal is to go in, be competitive, and no matter what, put up a better number than I ever have. And if Joey and I were to eat hot dogs, probably 99 times out of 100 at least, he's probably going to beat me or everyone else on the planet. I just need one day, though.
Yeah.
I just need one. That's all it takes. So if I can put it together, if my body cooperates, I would like to think that I'm willing to at least go to a place mentally and physically that most other people are not. And Joey's going to be that one that mentally to go toe to toe with is tough, but it's doable.
Mickey, how much faith do you have in your man this year? Come on. You got to be there for him.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously I'm focused on my own competition, but I want to see him win more than anything. He works so hard, and I think he would wear that belt really well.
Joey Chestnut's minus 4,000. He's an extremely heavy favorite here, as we're going to show everybody the odds on the DK Sportsbook. Esper, Massachusetts guy, we talked to him before, second best odds. Then you sit right there, Nick Wary, at plus 2,000. How do you feel about your position on the odds board?
I feel great. I've never gone into a contest, I think, in anything, whether I was bodybuilding or when I was playing baseball or now doing competitive eating, where I was a heavy favorite. So I'm very comfortable going into something. I don't know if I'd say under the radar, being the third, favorite, so to speak, but not being the guy that people expect to do it. I kind of actually prefer it that way. It was that way in February, going into Wonderful Pistachios, when they had Joey taking all the pictures with the belt before the contest. But I was the one that was going through LAX after the contest with a big check in the belt. My man.
But hey, hold up. We were messaging last week, dude. So this is the Super Bowl. This is the Super Bowl of competitive eating we're talking about. And Tom freaking Holland, AKA Spider-Man, says, and I quote, "You could not pay me to go to this contest." Nick, this doesn't sit well with you. What is your message for Peter Parker?
Oh man, I would there's the cordial dad part of me that would love to invite him to see maybe the charitable component of the 100,000 hot dogs that are donated every year.
Yeah.
See the fans that it brings a smile to their face and see the amount of fun that we have. And then there's the other part of me that my friend Adam from England suggested, that I basically fold him into a ball and catapult him into the crowd of those thousands of people. And what they do is up to them. I will leave it to them after his little message. But Spider-Man has always been my least favorite superhero, and that's just cement.
Mickey, how could someone have beef with one of the greatest spectacles in all of sport?
Oh my gosh. I mean, to each their own. I mean, of all the Spider-Men, how does he rank?
Does it matter? Spider-Man is such a weak superhero, but obviously last.
It sounds like Spider-Man's a fraud. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, exactly. Like, please.
All right.
Joke.
Before you two get out of here, couple quick questions. There's a lot of catch up on hot dog shaming happening in this country, in this world. What side of this debate are you guys on? Mickey?
Did they run a new campaign about hot dogs are not a competition or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think there's I think there's some like yeah, there's a whole lot of divisive talk going on in the ketchup community. Ketchup is not for me, but I'm not here to stomp on its place in the world either. So it can just enjoy its happy life away from my hot dog competitions and my hot dogs in general.
Nick, ketchup on hot dogs, yes or no?
I will gladly eat hot dogs with almost any topping.
Nice.
With that said, I'm more of a chili cheese dog or a dunked in flavored liquid eaten by the dozen hot dog person myself. If I'm going to eat ketchup, it's probably going to be mixed with mayo, dunking my fries in there.
Give me the one food you haven't consumed in an eating contest that you know you'd absolutely crush the competition at, Nick.
Oh, 100%. Cookie dough. I will bury in a cookie dough eating contest. Yeah. Cook cake batter or cookie dough.
Okay. Mickey, what about you? Look at her face.
Plain non-fat Greek yogurt. Talk about a boring, sad fridge. I live off of that stuff, so I think it would go down fast and see some high numbers, and that record would be mine. But I think I'd take the cookie dough one out of spite too, just because we're a very competitive household.
I love that though, because that probably has helped both of you crack the top 5 in world's best competitive eaters. And for people who want to hear more about all of this and pick you two's brain over the food you like, the food you don't like, I hear there's going to be a meet and greet, in the New York area? Can you give me more deets on that, guys?
Yeah, so July 2nd, right around 2 to 4 p.m., Handcraft Burgers and Brews, awesome smash burger place up in Manhattan. Great fries, deep fried hot dogs. They're actually giving away free fries if you get one of their hot dogs. Come on by, give us a shout. Introduce yourself, take pictures. You want to get autographs, take pictures of a cool shirt, anything like that. We're happy to see everybody because come the 4th of July for the contest or even the 3rd at the weigh-in, we're pulled a lot of directions, with the contest and everything going on. So we wanted to be able to do something for people that can't maybe make it down during the week, that we can do our small amount to give back and meet everybody.
That's awesome. Mickey, you'll have how many of those belts with you at that meet and greet?
At that point, just one. I don't know. I could even carry 9 belts. They're heavy. So, but just one.
Yeah, listen, your man's strong enough. He can help you out. You two are
Probably hasn't let go of the pistachio belt.
Oh,
let me see it.
Always within.
This follows me around the house.
It's just, you can imagine him with your belt. He would show up at like the gas station pumping gas with the mustard belt.
When we get married, I might actually wear this to hold my regular pants off.
I can see you just walking around the house with nothing on except your pistachio belt.
Do you have a camera in my house?
Like
Have you been watching me?
Like that hasn't happened.
Oh, I got eyes on you two. We'll have eyes on you two on the 4th of July as well. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with DK. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I'm extremely hungry now, and Shohei Ohtani is just hungry for dingers. His legend continues to grow. Having a month for the record books. Look at your screen. He launched his 14th home run during the month of June against the White Sox yesterday. Now he has set a franchise record for most taters in a single month. And during the month of June, which ends after today, he leads all of Major League Baseball, not only in dingers, but runs batted in and OPS. And on the mound, dude's 2-2 with an ERA of 3.26. That's in just north of 30 innings. He's got one more game to go until July arrives tomorrow. Maybe he lands on the betting cards of this riveting RotoWire duo of Paul Bruno and Eric Halterman. So he's not pitching tonight. That's where we'll start on the bump. Give me a pitcher prop you like heading into tonight, Paul.
I like Jose Barrios to record the win as Toronto hosts Boston. You might not like to hear that, but the Sox limp into town here on a 5-game streak where they've lost and only scored a total of 8 runs in that stretch. Pair that with a pitcher who's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in 9 of his last 10 starts, and a Barrios win will pay me at plus 170 tonight. I'll take it.
Okay, we're talking a 12-game main slate here, Easy E. What's a pitcher prop you like?
Yeah, I'm also looking at a pitcher win, and I'm looking at a pitcher win for Bobby Miller, who has not looked good in his last 2 starts, giving up 13 runs in 9 2/3, 8 strikeouts against just 6 walks. But the reason I like him for a pitcher win here is because the team he's playing, the Kansas City Royals, he's at plus 130, which is not a great payout for a guy who's coming off those two outings. But again, this Royals team has just been bad at the plate. Last in Team WRC Plus over the last month of the season. They've been pretty much just bad the whole year, and then they lost Vinny Pasquantino, which was one of the few bright spots in that lineup. Bobby Miller was very good prior to these last two starts, just 2 runs allowed over his first 4 outings. He doesn't need to get all the way back to that level to beat a lineup like the Royals today. I think he goes at least 5 innings, and I think he pitches well enough to get the win here.
Well, Eric, when I ask you about a hitter prop, this is when you could go with Shohei Ohtani here. Last day of June, you just saw what a smoking hot month that he is producing at the plate.
Yeah, I didn't actually look at his specific ones for my answer here, but given that he's Shohei Ohtani, I'll sign off on any of them. You can go with Shohei Ohtani for whatever you want. I think it's probably a good idea. But the specific one that I like today, I'm looking at Jock Peterson against Carlos Carrasco and the Mets. I'm looking at a few different things. We can go with his hits plus runs plus RBI prop. He's actually needs to get over 2.5 this time. Often this line is set at over 1.5. He's at plus 115 to get at least 3 hits plus runs plus RBI, or you could get him over 1.5 total bases. That's right around even money, or you can get him to go over half a homer. That's plus 300. But I like Jock Peterson in general today because he is a righty masher who is facing Carlos Carrasco, who is a mashable righty this season. 6.19 ERA on the year for Carrasco. The ERA estimators, some of them are better, but not by much. They're pretty much all well above 5. His strikeout rate down to about 15%. Walk rate in double digits. Nothing's going right for Carlos Carrasco this season. I like any of the Giants lefties hitting near the top of that order against him in either DFS or for some props here.
Paul, what do you like for a hitter prop tonight?
I've got to show some love for a Canadian-born guy. Since I told you off the air before the show, it's Canada Day weekend here north of the border as well. So I like Freddie Freeman tonight against the Royals. He's going against Alec Marsh in his MLB debut for the Royals. And in addition, the Royals bullpen and the team ERA sits at 5.24 on the year. So I think they're ripe to get wiped tonight. And I'll expect Freeman to be a big part of that, collecting at least 2 hits and pay plus 145 on that prop. But I like him maybe to leave the yard as well. He's coming in hot with 7 hits in his last 4 games played, so I'll be all over his stats tonight.
Well, Paul, which game total is looking tasty to you tonight?
I got a couple of games that I'm looking at. I go back to the Dodgers visit to KC, expecting them to rough up the Royals, like I said, and get most of the way to that 9.5 run total on their own. So I'll go over that one. And I see a solid pitching duel setting up in Seattle tonight with the Rays behind Shane McClanahan and his 2.23 ERA on the year, opposed by Bryce Miller, who's on a pretty nice streak lately and has a whip of under 1 on the season. He's been allowed only 5 earned runs in his last 17 innings rather, and I'll as a result take the under here of 7.5 to pay out.
All right, Eric, what's your total tonight?
Well, I'm on board with saying positive things about Canadians for Canada Day, but Paul's going to have to shut his ears here because I think Mike Soroka is going to contribute to the Marlins-Braves game, going over 9.5 runs here. Soroka, great story to see him back in the league. Of course, he broke in with an excellent season a few years ago and then missed basically 2 years with Achilles issues. But that excellent season wasn't through blowing guys away with a high strikeout rate. It was through contact management, keeping the ball on the ground. I like to see more than one season from a guy like that before I really buy in. And we only got 1 year, and then we didn't see him for 2 years. When we saw him earlier this year, he didn't look great. He's picked it up in the minors a bit, but not enough for me to have confidence, especially when the other side is Brian Hoeing, who is not convincing at all. 2.31 ERA, but none of the ERA estimators buy into that. And he spent much of the year in relief. I think he's very much a 6th starter type. And it's really Atlanta's offense that could get all the way to 10 runs on its own. In the month of June, Atlanta has a 144 team WRC plus. For some context of just how good that is, Mookie Betts on the entire season, he's just at 140. So it's an entire lineup of Mookie Bettses against Brian Hoeing. Even if Mike Soroka pitches the game of his life for Canada Day weekend, this still might hit the over.
All right, E, bring us home with your favorite game bet on tonight's 12-game main slate. Let's go.
Yeah, there's a battle between 2 historic franchises with 2 struggling pitchers. That's the Yankees versus the Cardinals. Luis Severino going up against Matthew Liberatore, and I'm going to side with Luis Severino here. Look at the 2 pitchers. They're both similarly bad this season. Severino, 5.25 ERA, the most positive ERA estimator. Sierra sits at 4.83 for him. His strikeouts are way down, under 20%. His walks are up. Matthew Liberatore, though, has been even worse, 5.60 ERA, and his Sierra is at 5.37, so about half a run worse than Severino, striking out just 16% of batters with also a double-digit walk rate. It's bad on both sides, but who are you going to pick to be more likely to have a bounce back start and do enough to lead his team to the win? I think it's Severino, who's had a career full of plenty of very good starts, whereas Liberatore just hasn't yet gotten off the ground. Severino also showing something his last time out on the mound. That's enough for me to go with the Yankees as slight favorites here.
Paul, what do you got?
Well, as a Jays fan, I was fearing the Giants' visit to Toronto. That offense was in high gear, but they were only limited to 5 runs over a 3-game visit here, and the Giants move on to a series with the Mets, and I like their chances to rebound from this because I don't expect the home side to provide that same quality of pitching as the New York squad will line up behind Carlos Carrasco, who probably has a gas can beside him. He's been let up all year, sporting a 6.19 ERA and a 1.856 WHIP. I like the Giants to win by 2 or more and expect to collect on that plus 135 payout.
All right, you two, your job here is done. Enjoy your holiday weekends. Paul, you north of the border. Easy E, you in the city of brotherly love, my dude. We got Jeff Ulrich taking a victory lap after this in a very unique race going down on the streets of Chicago. So Jeff will be joined by Pierce coming up to preview this race right after this.
Let's go with a guy who's got better odds than Chase Elliott on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Plus 1,100 for Ross Chastain. Again, 2 top 5 finishes in a row here. I know his car necessarily hasn't been as fast, the Chevy #1 or whatever, but I mean, he's got really good driver ratings at a lot of these comparable tracks. And I think Chastain, just another driver like Elliott overdue, but I mean, I think Chastain's looked better and been closer to a win so far than Elliott. So I mean, I'll be quite happy to take the bigger odds on him at plus 1,100.
Look at that, Ross Chastain making my guy, Jeff Ulrich, look like the absolute genius that he was born to be. Jeff Ulrich, congrats on the victory last week. Oh, hey, Pierce, you loser. Jeff, congratulations. Hey, how you feeling?
Look, you know, when you put in the work, when you really just grind it, I've been grinding the NASCAR streets for over a year and a half now with Pierce. All his expertise has rubbed off. It's about time, you know, we've gotten a couple winners now this year. We're really on a roll here. And I mean, I'm telling you, Chicago, this is going to be, there's some really good value out there. So we're going to hit another winner this week. And, you know, maybe we'll look Pierce look bad again. That's fine.
Pierce, we have Jeff talking about grinding on the streets. These guys are going to be grinding on the streets of Chicago. What the hell is this race going to look like? It's a never before seen event that NASCAR is putting on here. Lots of 90-degree turns, which is going to be super awkward and a lot of backups.
Yeah, this is a bit of a problem. It's a spectacle. They're just trying to get into a new market, so they're just making up a fake track. And we've seen this before. At a traditional road course, like Sonoma, they can run fairly decent, but you put these underpowered, I mean, they've taken 300 horsepower away from these cars over the last decade. They can't separate, so they all pile into turn one, and it's a wreck fest. And we've seen this at multiple road courses, so I think this is going to be a week where it's going to be a debacle, it's going to be a spectacle, but there's a great opportunity to take some long odds.
Okay, and I'm seeing that there's like no runoff area, which we know on most road courses there's runoff areas, and I don't think the speeds are going to exceed like 100 miles per hour wherever the hell they can get up that fast. So should we be looking at, Pierce, should we be looking at road course history then on a track this unique?
You can, and I think there's still going to be some validity to drivers having good road course history, but ultimately most of these guys know what they're doing. And this is going to be a completely even playing field. No one's ever been at this track, so I don't think that you really need to lean into that too much. Sure, you can play guys like Chase Elliott and Martin Truex and Tyler Reddick, who've been really hot lately. But ultimately, I think we're going to see some wrecks, and we're going to see guys sneak through and have big days that you wouldn't really expect just because of the dimensions of the track.
I mean, Jeff Ulrich, Pierce is mentioning an even playing field here. You've already said you're looking at the value in this race, so give me a top value play.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, look, and just to build on what Pierce said about the road courses, like, I don't, this course, we may call it a road course, but is it really even comparable to the other road courses that we see on NASCAR? I mean, it's just so unique. It's got these crazy turns. There's no straightaways. I mean, from straight up from a betting perspective, I mean, the two drivers that stick out to me the most are William Byron and Joey Logano. I mean, I have no idea why William Byron is plus 1,200, while like Larson, Truex Jr. plus 750, and then obviously Joey Logano at plus 3,500 as well. And I think again we can correlate this to the DFS side of it too. I think William Byron at 9,400 is an extremely good play. Again, just a driver who's been so consistent at the top of the ratings, almost all season. And again, I mean, this is going to be you can say, well, Kyle Larson is the best road driver, but I mean, this isn't really like the traditional road course. We don't even really know how it's going to go. So, I mean, I really like William Byron at 9,400 this week. I think he just makes for a great DFS play. You can fit him in. You can make really contrarian lineups and fade the top guys, or you can just fit him in as a second driver in if you do want to ride Larson or Chase Elliott. So William Byron for me, like the top tier, really setting up as a nice value there.
And Pierce, taking a gander here at your rankings on DraftKings Network, my friend. I will let you spill the beans on who you like as some top value plays.
Yeah, there's all kinds of value this week. I mean, if you look at the sports book, you can see that DraftKings is having trouble handicapping this race because we just don't know what's going to happen. And that carries over to the pricing. We've got a lot of guys under 8K, Harvick, Blaney, Bowman, Gibbs, Briscoe, Keselowski. They all could easily be top 5 cars. So there's tons of value. In the 6K range, there's Stenhouse, who's got a top 15 and a top 10 in the 2 road courses this year. And I think you even have a good shot at the guys in the 5K range. Like Jeff mentioned, there's no runoff. Everybody barrels into turn one. You're going to see good cars get taken out. You're going to see middle tier cars get taken out. And just through attrition, the 5K guys are going to move forward. They're going to score fantasy points. This might be a week where the winning salary leaves $2,000 on the table.
Damn. All right. So tough handicapping this race for sure. Let's take advantage of that then. What's your best bet on the DK Sportsbook for this race, Pierce?
Everything.
Everything.
I mean,
let's go.
If you want to watch a race and you want to take some long shots, I mean, this is up there with Daytona. A lot of times road courses are plate race lights where we can see, long shots come through. This might as well be a plate race in my book. And you look at all the different odds that you can get, long shots from really talented drivers in good cars. But Chase Briscoe is the one that stands out the most to me. 6,500 for a guy who won multiple times in the Xfinity Series. And oh, by the way, when he won his Xfinity road course wins, they were the first times those events were ever held. So he won the first Roval race. He won the first Indy GP race. I think he can pull this off. He's been a good road racer in the Cup Series. But really, I think all of these guys are in play.
Who's in play on the DK Sportsbook, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, very similar feelings here. I don't think Pierce is being fictitious at all. I mean, Chase Briscoe, I love the call. And I'm going to another driver very similar here. Joey Logano, what was he doing at plus 3,500? I mean, for real, he's finished top 5 in 2 of his last 3 starts. But on top of that, this is the driver who has multiple wins at new tracks. He was the first winner at the dirt track, wherever they held that, Bristol, just a year ago. I mean, this is what Logano does. He's extremely talented. And yes, he's up and down, and sometimes he gets some crashes, but certainly coming to a new technical track like this talented a driver at plus 3,500, you have to get some money on him at this price. And at plus 400 for a top 5, again, I've mentioned he's got a handful of top 5s already. I have no idea why he's at plus 400. Really does speak to the fact that the sportsbooks are having trouble handicapping this race. I'm going to give you one more because there are a lot of interesting bets here this week. The Toyota to be the winning race manufacturer at plus 210. You look at their road course performances, they've been the top manufacturer at the last 3 road course events. So the fact they're plus 210 on an event like this, with a bunch of talented drivers on their roster, I think that's a good bet as well. So Logano, Byron, Pierce's boy Briscoe, I think that's a great 3-pack right there. And if you want to sprinkle in the manufacturer on Toyota as well, I mean, that's just a good card right there in itself.
All right, so you two kind of hot and cold on this unique race that NASCAR is putting on in Chicago. Pierce, I'm
hot on it, man. I think they should have this like every week.
You're hot on it.
The odds are so much better this week. Let's just keep doing this every week. They can bring it up here to Edmonton. We can go around the traffic circles. I mean, that'd be good.
You're hot on it. Pierce, you're a little cool on it. F1 fans aren't too hot on these sprint races. So before we take off, Max Verstappen, is he going to make it 5 straight, or another team finally breaks through this weekend? What do you think, Pierce?
Yeah, it'll be 5 in a row. This is Red Bull's home track. They're going to win. It's an important race. We don't know what's going to happen in NASCAR, but we pretty much always know what's going to happen in F1. Red Bull domination, Max wins.
I can't watch it anymore. I know who's going to win from the start. I can't. I'm out. No, I'm just kidding. I still watch it. I love you guys. Pierce, enjoy your 4th of July weekend, and it's a big day in Canada tomorrow, Jeff.
It is huge. Canada Day. I think we're like 20 years old.
Congratulations, man. You're almost at the legal drinking age, which the beer at that NASCAR race is ridiculously expensive. Good luck to everybody. Have a safe holiday weekend. We're back here on Wednesday. Next 4 days without us. I know. You can always watch the DraftKings Network, which is up and running now on Samsung TV Plus. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy the glizzies.